So pictures tell stories, and I want to show you a few pictures and let you look at the story of me. My single focus when I was a young scientist at NASA was to basically float on this plane. Once I found out that it was there, I did everything in my power to get on it just one time. It flies a giant roller coaster-like maneuver, and you get this 30 seconds of weightlessness over the top. It's a lot of fun, and it was something that just really, it was that moment in time, that particular picture that you're looking at is a picture that I looked at. I just could not believe that I got to do it. My first flight was in 1987, and in 2007, with Peter and Byron and the help of a lot of other people, I actually got to take my whole family. And so the bottom line is in 20 years, things have changed. And so that part is a great story. But these are some other pictures about that same 20 years. And in that 20 years, I gained 50 pounds. It didn't happen quickly. 2.5 pounds a year, maybe 168 calories a week. 16 M&Ms is 168 calories. It's not very much of extra calories. But my BMI was up to 34. And sort of to reiterate what John was saying about this is a problem. And last night, as I was here in Charity Speak, one of the things that really hit me was we're deliberately creating nutritional-based disease. While she actually is fighting for something basic that she didn't choose, many of us, including me, are just basically creating the problem. And the things John said were just so important. So I tried a lot of diets. Dean's diet, Body for Life, a lot of different diets. And all of them work. They all work through caloric restriction. We all know it's not genetics. You eat less than you burn, and you lose weight, you eat more and you gain. And you can say all these things about what you're eating, but ultimately it comes down to how's the energy balance. And so this is a typical example of where I would start down. This was the worst case at 230 when I was at my max. But for me, at about 12 weeks, I hit a roadblock. And at that roadblock, I suddenly was really not able to push beyond it. I'd fall off of it. I'd gain weight back. It always seemed to come with interest. I wish money worked that way, but weight certainly does. And so I started doing calculations. I was going to figure it out. I was going to figure the perfect way out. And when I realized that running a marathon only burns 2,600 calories or 3/4 of a pound of fat, my spirits were gone. And I'm not going to run. And if I ran 2 a week, you can see I would double my weight loss. Well, at that point, I heard on a documentary that just happened to be playing, this was 2008, Michael Phelps eats 12,000 calories a day. How many people heard that? 12,000 calories a day. Okay. A lot of people would have written that off. He's an Olympic athlete. I wasn't buying it. I mean, this was my total weekly caloric intake, 12,000 calories on a 1,500 to 1,800 calorie diet. And so I really wanted to dig in, and it just didn't make sense. But then it hit me. He spends a lot of time in water. And water is 24 times more thermally conductive than air. And maybe it was this load, this water that was pulling the calories out through heat. And maybe that actually could be used. So I started looking into the thermodynamic side of this and looking at the body and how it regulates temperature. And it's actually a really complex machine. It's hard to fool it. It does the best thing. It's evolved to be perfect at what it does. And that is, as we get hot, our core temperature for most of us stays within about a 0.5 degree every day. But for human beings, it's within 2 degrees. It's a tight band of temperature. And through a system of capillaries that dilate, they either bring blood to the skin or keep it down underneath, whether you need to be insulated or not. And where that blood is whether you're giving off heat, which you're always giving off heat, but whether you're giving off heat or whether you're conserving it. And so what I started looking at is what could I do to trick the body? Because really and truthfully, I believed that the way to lose weight was sweaty, hot workouts. That's when I was doing the best. It turns out when you're cold, you burn way more calories. And cold's takes a lot less energy, at least sitting there, than it is to be hot. But you really think that you're burning all this because you're sweating, you're active, you're doing this. And so what I was able to do is look at this and figure out that, you know, the body responds. First, it shuts down heat to the skin. The next thing it does is it shuts down the extremities. You never get frostbite of the head. You only get it of the toes, the fingers, the nose. And so the question was, how could we use this to do it? So Newton's law of cooling just simply tells that, you know, heat's moving from the hot thing to the cold thing. So the question was, if I treated my body like a thermostat and it's set, and then I simply am in a colder environment, you know, could I run up my utility bill, right? I mean, it's just like opening the window. I wanted my furnace to blast at full, or go at full blast. And so that was the idea. Live in a cold environment all the time, not cold, but cool environment, and see how it goes. So it turns out I wasn't the first person to think about this. There's actually a patent that was out in 1988 of a vest, and that's actually Scott Parazynski, who will be speaking later this week. Turns out astronauts actually have to be cooled in spacesuits. You don't have to heat them at all. You just have to pull out the extra heat. And so they use this vest here that keeps them that keeps them cool while they're going. And I tried to look at this a different way, because I'm not going to wear a spacesuit. And then I found this guy, Wim Hof. And he's 1 hour and 46 minutes he can stay in ice without dying. He is able, through meditation, to bring his heart rate down, dilate his skin 3 times the temperature output of the average human. But it doesn't have to be this extreme. Tim Ferriss has a book, The 4-Hour Body, and it's got a chapter on the thermodynamics and how I did this. It doesn't have to be extreme. There's actually small, simple steps. This is a practical guide on how you can actually slowly but surely add more calorie burn to you every day. So bringing this to the end, the close, you know, I show you my two, the path that I was on, which was diet and exercise, and then the other path of there. And what it ended up is I went from 1.5 pounds a week to 4.5 pounds a week, lost 30 pounds in 6 weeks. And so since that time, I've switched to a plant-based diet, like John said, which has really had a lot of other health things. But in closing, what I'd like to say is I think what we need to do as a community is think about this. We still need to eat for nutrition. We need to exercise for cardiovascular fitness and anaerobic strength. But let's not forget the thermodynamic equation, because it really matters. The thermal load really matters. And if I had a pill here that I said, listen, I can increase your metabolism by 100%. I can increase insulin delivered to the muscle. I can boost your circulatory system, your peripheral circulatory system. I can increase your respiratory system. Everybody would be standing in line and say, I want it. Well, it turns out swimming, immersion therapy, and probably this thermal loading all has the ability to do this. And most of this research was done back in the 50s. We've left it alone. But there's a lot of stuff that we can dig out and a lot of stuff that we can learn from the past. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Bill.